I always like to work on my posture,
Yeah. Posture's everything.
It is.
It accentuates the swag.
Okay. Ready for the countdown?
Okay. So I'm going to start at this.
4, 3.
Welcome to 15 News Special. My name is Chris Campbell, and to my left is the newly installed City of Southfield clerk, Sharika Hawkins. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. There's been so much buzz around you, especially after this election, as you became the first African-American female clerk in the city's history. Kind of give us an idea of what that election was like for you.
Long.
Yeah.
As you know, a little bit about myself. I was the appointed clerk in the city of Pontiac. So on election day, if we could start there, I was administering my own election in the city of Pontiac while being on the ballot here in the city of Southfield. So it was a little stressful, a little tense, long 18-hour day, but thankfully I prevailed and was able to win the election and be the first African-American period that has sat in this seat. So very exciting times.
Absolutely. Now, elections in Southfield are often very dynamic stretches of activity and engagement with the community. What's one big takeaway that you got when you were campaigning here in Southfield for the city clerk's position?
One of the things that I took away is that you have to be patient and you have to canvass. You have to knock doors. Southfield is a very friendly neighborhood that you should canvass, and you get to know people. The more people that you get to know, that will have a greater impact on your goals and essentially trying to win a seat.
Now, you've got a great backstory and great family support, too, with the election and your campaigning. Kind of give us a little bit about your background here in Southfield, just as a resident.
So my background here in Southfield as a resident is that back in 2008 and 9, we lived here in the city of Southfield. Then my husband and I decided to buy a house, and the market was it was interesting to say. So we ended up getting more house that type of house that we wanted in a different community. But we did feel very strong with our roots to Southfield. So we stayed there for a few years, and then we came back and ended up buying a house here in Southfield because this is where we wanted to be. It is the center of it all, great location, great family, and we just chose that this is the place that we wanted to raise our son. So from there, we essentially just baptized ourselves in the community. My husband is the dean at Oakland Community College. We did a lot of things. I'm with the organization called the National Congress of Black Women, MLK Task Force, things like that. We just entrenched ourselves in neighborhood association and just became proper law-abiding citizens and residents of the city, giving back, basically.
Absolutely. Now, you're fairly young, but you're very accomplished. Now, serving as clerk in Pontiac, how did this inform what you're doing now? And then just kind of give us your background, too, and your experiences in Pontiac.
So background is I was the city clerk in the city of Pontiac from 2011 to 2017. At the time of my appointment in Pontiac, I was one of the youngest city clerks in a mid-major city. So my background is that I'm a certified municipal clerk, and that's through the International Institute of Clerks. I hold a bachelor's and a master's degree. And civic engagement has been a part of me my whole life. My grandmother was very involved, and I would go to council meetings when I was little. Little did I know that I would be a city clerk. My father's in the military, so I've been kind of born into just public service. I think that's what I'm called to do. That's what I want to do. That's what I love. So although I've been trained educational-wise, career-wise, I think it was just naturally born into me to do this.
Now, going back to your days in Pontiac, describe what that was like on a day-to-day basis, in terms of some of your experiences and engaging with the citizens in Pontiac.
Well, my day-to-day was interesting depending on the day, but I was very, very passionate on civic engagement, the clerk being visible within the community. During the time I was in Pontiac, we had emergency management, so a lot of argument was that democracy was lost. So I wanted to fulfill the need for strong leadership and to know that the leaders that are in your city hall are being effective and trying to do and use the most resources available to make an impact on your life. And so that was really my calling there. And under my tenure as clerk, I had 2 record voter turnouts. So just getting engagement, just getting people excited about voting, saying, hey, we got an election, we got to vote, we got to definitely do the things that we should do as just responsible citizens.
Absolutely. Now let's go into the present time as the City of Southfield clerk. You've been there for a few months now. What's been your first impression?
Southfield, my first impression is that it's very amazing to work in a city that you live in. You know, not only you have individuals that are your constituents, but they're your neighbors. So it's a greater sense of responsibility. It's a greater sense of making sure that the needs are being met. So I love the city. I love the challenges that I'm going to have in this position. My staff is awesome. So I'm looking forward to doing some very, very great things here in the clerk's office. I have a vision for the office, and short-term, long-term goals, all of that encompasses my vision. And overall, I just want to make the citizens happy and refreshed when they come into my office.
Well, let's get into some of that vision mapping, that vision boarding, as some people would say. You've been really big on just when it comes to using technology and using updated methodologies. What are some things that you plan on incorporating into the clerk's office?
So some things that we've already done to incorporate into the clerk's office, we made most of our forms online fillable, so you could fill them out online, print them out, then put your signature on it. We've also made, with our Freedom of Information Act, it's a lot of things on transparency. I'm firmly a believer in being transparent. So our FOIA forms, you could submit that without even having to print them out. It's a button online now that you can just submit, and that'll come directly to my office. So we're trying to make processes as seamless, simple, open, free as possible. So those are a couple of things. We are on EDRS, so now we're going to be able to file death certificates electronically. So we're streamlining. We're taking a project in and at a time to make it so that our residents, our stakeholders, our business owners are fully satisfied with the services that we provide.
Nice. Now, in terms of many communities sort of have issues with low information voter bases. You know, a lot of the voting block or constituency of residents don't seem to be quite as informed as people would want. What are some things that you may want to do on the clerk level to just help inform the community, whether it's the voting process, who they're voting for, and just some of the issues that are happening in the city?
Well, I will concentrate on the voting process. You know, I'm a neutral office, so I'm not going to tell anybody who to vote for, but just the process of voting. What do you do if you need an absentee ballot? You know, what's on the ballot? I have sample ballots that you can get online. You can get paper sample ballots from my office. So with me, I'm going to partner with a lot of the neighborhood associations. I'm going to partner with Southfield Public Schools and just get that education element out here in the city of Southfield, so that we know Southfield has an actual very strong voting base. You know, that voting base does fall down when you get local elections, but overall we are a force to be reckoned with in the county when it comes to our voting presence. So with that being said, it's just capitalizing on that momentum to make that momentum consistent, so each election there's not a fall off. If we have a 70% voter turnout for presidential, we want that same type of voter turnout for a gubernatorial or a local, but it tends to fall back. So it's my job to crack that code to see what I can do to make sure that we continue to move upward in our voter turnout. And I think education, voter input, you got to ask the voters what they're looking for. We have to look at things that can make it easier as far as our voting locations, as far as like who needs to be on our permanent absentee list. A lot of people don't know if you're over 60 years old, you can just call or write me to request to be on that list, so you'll get an application on every election. So education, 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 that's definitely the key.
Nice. Now, in terms of education, you're quite decorated from an education perspective. Tell me a little bit about how education has enhanced what you do.
So, just a little backstory real quick. I graduated undergrad, went straight to master's. So at the age of 24, I had a master's degree. So I had all this education and no experience. So, you apply for all these jobs and they're like, oh, you don't have any experience, but you have all this education. So it definitely has trained me in the component that although education is really important, people want to see the mix of the two. They want to see a blend of education and experience. And I was able to get the opportunity with the experience. So I think they go hand in hand. Case in point, I wrote a master's thesis about leadership in elected officials, women's leadership. And that leadership and what I wrote my thesis on and what I learned and all of the literature reviews and everything that I wrote, now I see my body of work encompassing that as a leader, as an elected official. So who would have known 14 years prior that what I was writing on would become my life? So that's very interesting to me, and I think I never would underestimate education, because all of the little things you learn, even outside of the classroom, has prepared me for the seat that I'm in right now.
Yes. Now, I have heard the words role model being thrown around when people think of you and talk about you and your husband as well as leaders in the community. How important is it for you to embrace being a role model here in the community?
It's very important. No matter where you're at, you're going to have someone looking at you, looking up to you, wanting to be like you, whether you recognize that or not. So as a woman in this community, as an African American woman, I would be failing the community, I would be failing myself if I didn't conduct myself as a role model, and if I didn't reach down to help others. Someone reached down to help me, and not physically reaching down, just reaching to help. So whatever I can do to help, or whatever my behavior can inspire someone, that's what I'm looking to do, because I'm inspired every day. So if I can inspire others, then that generation of this greatness can continue to be birthed, and we can move forward in the capacity of people having role models, people seeing women or women in color in positions that they may want to get one day.
Now let's peer and get a glimpse behind the woman behind the office. You're married, you have a young family. What's a day in the life like after you get off of work from here?
It's depending on the day. Today, it's swimming for my son, Donovan. We got swimming lessons. So it just depends on the day. Monday night is city council meeting, so your day's done. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day, so it'll be time with the husband and I.
Date night?
Date night. Thursday, try to make it to the gym. Not enough hours in a day. Generally, I try to make it to the gym in the morning, but as much as my career is important, it's very, very important for me to be a wife and a mother, So just that balancing that can be very difficult at times, but you just make sure you try to get everybody taken care of. Some days are better than others, but you just try to juggle.
Work-life balance is everything.
Right, it's everything. It's everything.
Now let's take a jump into the future. Let's go about a couple of years into the future. What do you hope to have accomplished at that point?
In what regard? Here in the city clerk position?
With regards to the city clerk position, yes.
Just some improvements in my office technology-wise. Technology is changing every day. So whatever we can do to be on the top of that would definitely help out our residents. I want individuals to come to my office and receive world-class customer service. Customer service is my everything. We are here because of these tax dollars, so it's no time for half-stepping. We definitely have to do that. So customer service, technology, transparency, and education. When you come into the clerk's office, I want you to be assured that you're going to get the right information that you need within the city of Southfield.
Now, having been in the clerk's office for a few months now, what's one major misconception that people have that you're making a big effort to sort of demystify or dispel?
I think right now we're just working on transparency. Anything and everything that we can put online on our website, we're going to do that. That may mitigate costs. If people know where to look and find things, they may not have to call, which can save them time, which can save them energy as well. So we're looking to streamline. That's the word that I like to use as far as just making it easier for our residents, because that's why we're here. We're a city with a population of over 71,000. We have business communities. On any given day, it could be 179,000 people here in the city, and we have to serve those people.
And speaking of servant leadership, you're working with a body of elected officials, and you're part of a team. Kind of give us a glimpse into the team dynamic with working with council, administration, other elected officials in the city.
I think we're a great team. You know, I like to look at it like the '96 Chicago Bulls, triangle offense. You know, everyone has a role. Everyone's playing their role well, and when you do that, you build championships. So right now, as new council members, new clerk, we're all getting adjusted to our roles. You know, are we a bench player? Are we a starter? Are we an all-star? Are we a role player? So right now, we're just trying to mesh it all. We're all most of the new seats. We're not even 90 days in. But overall, it's a very great group. I think all of our first priority is to move the city forward, and that's all you can really ask for. And if we continue to move the city forward, everything else will fall into place.
All right. Is there anything that we neglected to ask that you want the community to know, either about the clerk's office, about what you do, or some of the initiatives that you're going to be putting into place?
I think, you know, we're every day we are essentially updating our website to put more things on there. So check out our the city Southfield City Clerk's website. Look for a newsletter that will be going out. We have a May election, we have an August election, and we have a November election. 3 elections this year. So look forward to voting in all 3. I want perfection, 100%. That's the main thing, just getting education out with these elections.
What your election, just in being an observer, from my perspective, also symbolized too, is that you can set a goal, have a dream, and attain it. For those young African American women, young girls that are looking at you as a role model, what words of wisdom and advice do you have for them when it comes to going after their dreams?
Don't let anybody outwork you. Like, in getting to my goals, I've worked hard, very, very hard. And I pride myself on not being outworked. So if you work hard, you put your mind to it, and you really stay focused, the sky is the limit. You know, you're going to have some adversities, you're going to have some ebbs and flows, but continue to stay committed to your grind, and you will see the fruits of your labor.
All right. Now, for those that want to get in contact with the city clerk's office, or check out the latest activities, or engage online, where can they go to do that?
They can call our office, 248-796-5150. You can go to www.cityofsouthfield.com/cityclerk, and you can see us on there.
All right. Well, we are in studio with City of Southfield Clerk Sharika Hawkins. This has been a special 15 News edition.
Okay, we're going to do that one more time, the closing.
The close? Okay.
Where should he go from when they did the last statement, or just turn into the camera? Do the turn?
Okay, so do the turn,
Yeah,
then do the close.
turn.
Okay.
And you need a smile out of
Okay.
you.
Did we get everything that you want?
Yeah.
Did we kind of hit everything?
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to make it sort of balanced.
You're
and
the
kind
man,
of give
man.
it.
You're good.
Okay, count me.
You're ready.
Oh, count me down. Count down looks a little bit better.
5, 4, 3.
Well, we are in studio with City of Southfield City Clerk Sharika Hawkins. This has been a special 15 News edition.
That's a wrap.
Right? All right. Cool.